I woke up to the sound of scratching. At first, I thought it was just my mind playing tricks on me. But as I lay there, staring at the ceiling in the dark, I realized it was real. A slow, deliberate scraping noise, like something sharp being dragged across the floor. I sat up in bed, heart pounding. It was coming from my roommate's side of the apartment. I checked the time, 3:12 a.m. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe he was just moving furniture. But deep down, something felt wrong. Let me back up. I moved in with Ethan 3 months ago. We weren't close friends, just two college guys looking to split rent. He seemed normal at first, quiet, clean, always polite. But as weeks passed, I started noticing weird things. He never brought friends over. He never ate in front of me. And at night, I heard noises. Scraping, shuffling, sometimes whispering. One time, I caught a glimpse inside his room. His walls were covered in notes. Messy, frantic writing. I couldn't read them, but some words were underlined over and over. Words like silence, obey, hunger. I tried to ignore it. People have their quirks, right? But then I made a mistake. A huge mistake. Last night, Ethan left for class, and I went to grab something from the kitchen. That's when I noticed the smell. Something rotting. It was coming from the fridge. I gagged and swung the door open. His shelf was nearly empty, except for one thing, a tightly wrapped plastic bag. It was leaking something dark and thick. I hesitated, but curiosity got the best of me. I peeled the bag open just a little. The smell hit me like a punch to the face. And inside, a human tooth. A real, blooded tooth. I slammed the fridge shut, my hands shaking. My mind raced. What the hell had I just seen? Was Ethan keeping body parts in our fridge? I needed proof. If I told someone, they'd just think I was crazy. So I grabbed my phone and took a picture. Big mistake. A shadow moved behind me. I spun around. Ethan was standing in the hallway, watching me. I don't know how long he had been there, but his eyes were dark. Too dark. He tilted his head slightly. "You shouldn't have done that," he whispered. Then he turned and walked back into his room, locking the door behind him. Now it's 3:12 a.m., and I'm hearing scraping again. And this time, it's coming from right outside my bedroom door. The scraping stopped. For a long time, there was only silence. I sat frozen in bed, barely breathing. My phone was still in my hand, but I was too scared to check the time. It felt like Ethan was still there, standing just outside my door, listening. Then, I heard it. A wet, disgusting sound. Like someone chewing. I swallowed hard. My stomach twisted. Was he eating something? No, not something. Someone. I knew I should have called the police. Should have packed my bags and run. But my body refused to move. Then, a knock. Soft. Gentle. "Hey." Ethan's voice came through the door. Low. Calm. Too calm. "I know you're awake," he said. "Can we talk?" I stayed quiet. Another knock. A little harder this time. "I saw you looking in the fridge." My skin went cold. "I get it," he continued. "You're confused. Maybe even scared." No response. "You don't have to be." A pause. Then, his voice dropped even lower. "I can show you." That was it. That was the moment I knew I had to leave. Slowly, I reached for my backpack. My hands trembled as I shoved my laptop and wallet inside. I grabbed my keys. If I moved fast, maybe I could make it to the door before he... Click. The sound made my blood turn to ice. It was the sound of my bedroom doorknob turning. The lock was held, but only for a second. Because then, Ethan started scratching again. Not at the door, at the lock, like he was trying to dig through it with his nails. I couldn't take it anymore. I scrambled for my phone and called 911, whispering as fast as I could. "My roommate, he's dangerous. I think he eats people." The operator asked for my address. I gave it to her. She told me to stay calm. Help was coming. Then, just as suddenly as it started, The scratching stopped. Silence. I held my breath, waiting. Then, a single word from the other side of the door. "You're not hungry yet," Ethan whispered. "But you will be." Then, footsteps, fading down the hall. The front door opened, then closed. I waited for what felt like hours before I finally moved. I opened my door just a crack, peeking into the dark hallway. Ethan was gone, but the fridge was open, and on the kitchen counter, a plate. Meat. Cooked, seared on the edges, and sitting next to it, a human finger. I gagged, stumbling back. The smell, the sight of it, I couldn't breathe. Then, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Try it." I dropped my phone and ran. I didn't care where, I just ran. Into the night, away from that apartment. Away from him. The police arrived 10 minutes later. They searched the whole place. Ethan was gone. But his room? They found bones. Some picked clean. Some were still fresh. And the worst part? Inside his closet, a notebook. Pages filled with names. And at the very bottom of the list, my name. I didn't sleep that night. Even after I told the police everything, even after they took my statement and let me go, I couldn't stop thinking about him. Ethan. He was still out there. Somewhere. And worst of all, he knew where to find me. I got a cheap motel room that night. Bolted the door. Checked every window twice. But sleep never came. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that plate on the counter. The finger. The meat. The notebook with my name in it. I had to leave town. I knew that. But something kept me frozen. Some sick, paralyzing fear that if I moved, if I packed my bags and ran, I'd never see him coming. At some point, I must have dozed off. Because when I woke up, there was someone in the room. The air felt wrong. Thick. Like the walls were breathing. I didn't move. Didn't even breathe. Just kept my eyes shut, pretending to be asleep. Then, the mattress shifted. Someone was sitting on my bed. My body screamed at me to run. But I couldn't. I could hear breathing. Slow. Deep. Right next to me. Then, "Hey, roommate." I felt a hand on my arm. "Ethan." I jumped up, nearly falling off the bed. My heart slammed against my ribs. He just sat there, smiling. His teeth looked sharper. His eyes, hungrier. "How did you?" I choked out. "Find you?" He tilted his head. "Come on, man. We lived together. I know you." I was shaking. "You ran," Ethan said, voice calm, almost disappointed. "But you didn't finish your plate." I swallowed hard. "What do you want?" I whispered. His smile widened. He leaned in close, whispering, "To share a meal." Then, the bathroom door creaked open. I barely had time to react before someone else stepped out. A man. Tall. Too thin. His skin was pale, stretched tight over sharp bones. And his face. His mouth was too wide. His eyes black as pits. And his hands, long, bony fingers that ended in claws. I stumbled backward. My back hit the wall. Ethan stood up, grinning. "This is my mentor." The thing in the doorway grinned back. I fumbled for something, anything, to defend myself. A lamp, a chair, but Ethan just laughed. "You don't get it, do you?" He took a step forward. So did the creature. "You're on the menu." Then they lunged. I don't remember much after that. Just screaming. Thrashing. Blood. I woke up in the hospital 3 days later. The cops told me someone at the motel heard the struggle and called 911. They found me covered in blood. But Ethan, gone. No sign of him. No sign of the thing he brought with him. But before the paramedics took me away, I saw something in the motel mirror. A message. Written in blood. "You will be hungry soon." The police never found him. But I know he's still out there. Waiting. Watching. And the worst part? Lately, I've been craving meat. Raw. And I don't know if I can stop myself.